Here we go, folks. Hello, everybody. Whoa, there we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to SD Media Pros. I am your president, Tom Kinnaman. I'm glad you could join us tonight. This is just going to be a wonderful event, very special event. There's an opportunity to really get a feel between what it takes between the director and the actor to create true drama or comedy or whatever, wherever you want to go with that. And it's just going to be a great panel tonight. So I just want to preview a couple other things that are going to be coming down in the next couple months because we've been doing this for a while now, and we really love the response we're getting from everyone. And so we're doing our best to create really jam-packed meetings every month. Exact month from today is another 28th on the March 28th, and that one's going to be all about creating a media-centric website. So if your website is fantastic, it can always use a little more. If your website is like mine and it just needs a total overhaul, that's where we want to go, okay? And then we're going to really focus on SEO too. So how to get you recognized. What does it take? There's a couple things going on there. How do you manage your SEO? And then also, how do you develop a website so that you can manage your social media output also? So we're going to tee it up right there, and then the following month in April, we're going to knock it down with more nuts and bolts about your social media, okay? What do you have to deliver? How do you deliver? How do you have an account? How do you manage the account? What do they like? What does this particular flavor of social media like to see, okay? So now you can start to get it in your head, okay? I got to write 3 sentences for that one, 2 sentences for that one. I got to have a picture for that one, a video for that one, and the format for the video is different. Also, you can't just always send out 1080. It might be a vertical format that they prefer. So we're going to nail that down so you can really bring a notebook to both of those because you're going to need it. Then into the year, I'll just kind of tap on a couple things. Instead of Media Pro Camp, we're going to do 2-day-long events. 2 Saturday events. We've had Media Pro Camps in the past, which is a day-long event. It's usually at UCSD Extension, which is off of Governor. I think we probably all know where that is. And probably be there again. But the first one's going to be a Saturday. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to be. June-ish, I think. That's going to be about production. And then 2 or 3 months later after that, we're going to go into post-production. So this will be a chance. I mean, we just had the camera shootout, and while that was an amazing event, we got to see the cameras up close. Everybody's going, "Gosh, I want more. I want to really be able to drill down and understand what the camera can do for us, and how do you operate it, and things like that." Well, that's what this is all about. Let's take some time to really understand what's being just shown. Okay. So. Peter, I want to, so that's enough with company business going into the future. I want to introduce Peter Nagy. Peter Nagy, and he's representing Studio West. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. We're excited to have you guys here. This is a fun event. It's always fun to see this room change into something different, no matter who's coming in, whether it's a band coming in, single player, or an event like this. So little quick history on the studio. This room was the first room here, built in '86. We moved from Kearney Mesa up to here to do a lot of network music and music for film. There's been a lot of film scores done in here, mixed and recorded and everything. Cable Guy is one of the big notable ones. Kind of a little bit of a fan. But we do not just music here. For film, we do a lot of ADR and post-production work. So today, we had about 8 hours worth of ADR work happening here, which is always a lot of fun. We never know who's coming in, what actor, what project. About 2 weeks ago, we had John Cena in for about 6 hours, and he's a super awesome guy to work with, and really funny too. So we have We don't do that in this room. We'd usually do that in Studio B and C, which when we're all wrapped up, I should be able to give a quick tour if you want to see the rooms, show you, what goes on in them and everything. I've got, we run a school here as well for audio production. So everything from music to post-production and a bit of video as well. So we have student sessions going on at the moment that we should be able to sneak in, take a peek if anybody wants to. And then if there's any questions that you guys have afterwards, I'll be around all evening. So any questions on the rooms, on what we do, if you want more detail, feel free to ask. So if there's anything you want me to touch on.
This is an introduction. It's all about making the introduction. Now everybody here knows where Studio West is. Okay, so now you know, right? So when the project comes up that you need Studio West for, you know where they are, you know the guy, and you can make the connection. You can make it happen. Okay, thank you, Peter. Okay, great, thank you. So real quick, just so we don't have time to pass the mic, which I love to do, so everybody kind of gets a chance to know who everybody is. But I'm going to run through a bunch of different categories, and so everybody look around. You raise your hand when I ask what you do. Okay, so people can kind of look around and go, okay, that works for me. If I need that person, use that person. People like that. Okay, so who here considers themselves a producer? Okay, who produces? Okay, all right. So there's a shaky hand over there, but okay, right. So yeah, right. Okay, producers. Okay, right. Okay, so now directors. Who considers himself a director? Okay, directors. And sometimes directors are not producers. Sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. Okay. How about actors? Who considers himself? Who's an actor? Okay, right. Who's an actor? Okay, there we go. All right, performer or performer. Right, you're on camera, baby. You're acting. Okay. At least that's what. Never mind. I won't go there. Okay, so acting. So who's a DP? Who does lighting for a living? So a couple guys here. Okay, so you put yourself together. So this is how you start to build your team. Okay, who does audio on? Who does on location audio? Who does on location audio? Just see. So there's three people here. Excuse me. Here that do that. So that's not who does post like music design, audio design. Okay, another rare area. So if you need that, now you know who to get a hold of. You got to stay a part of this community in order to be able to stay with that. Any other categories? Did I forget something? Huh? Casting. All right, the casting director said casting. And there's another one over here. Okay, great. And then who's got any projects coming up that they'd like to make a quick announcement about? Here we go.
Hi, I'm Eddie. Some of you may know me from San Diego Filmmakers Group. Someone just gave me a lot of money to make a very big movie. I'll take everybody's card. Thank you.
There we go. All right. You said the M word. There we go. Okay. Anybody else? Quick announcement.
My name is Jeffrey Lehman. I did a 6-part historical documentary series called Maritime Silk Road. It won Best Documentary Series of the Year in China in December, which they flew me out, all expenses paid, for 2 weeks, which is nice. And I just got, day before yesterday, funded for a second season, which I never thought was going to happen.
Great. Anybody else have a project that they need people for? So seek these people out.
I want to make a quick announcement that I was part of a film called The Samuel Project, and our executive producer, Jeff Deverett, is here tonight. Our film is showing at the Lot in La Jolla through next Thursday. So it's a great independent feature film. Please come see it. We're hearing really good reviews. So thank you.
Great. And one more. Here we go. There we go.
Hi, Susan Davis here. I'm a filmmaker. Hi, Merrick. And I'm gearing up to shoot my first feature film, and I don't have a lot of money. So that's what I'll be looking for. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, I didn't say editor. Who? Speaking of film of features and who's the editor? Who here's an editor? Okay, a few more of us. So twice as many as there are audio designers. What do you know? But still a rare breed. Okay, so good. So we got to know each other a little bit. Good, good. So I think we can move on with the program. Okay. So Jane, would you like to do a basic introduction to get things started? And we'll bring the panel up. And I'm going to hand the microphone over to Jane Hare, everybody.
Thanks, Tom. Panel, you can come up because I don't have too much to say before we get started. There's some seats up here in the front for anybody who's standing and maybe wants to sit down. So come on up, Billy, Terry, Merrick, Carenza. Come on up. Come on up front. No, these are your seats. We want to put you in order. So actually, Billy on the far end, then Terry, then Merrick, and then Carenza next to me. It does not mean I'm starting with you. I'm actually going to start on the far end with Billy. So this was a topic that I was really curious about. I wanted to talk about.
I'll take that once that's working. I'll take the handheld away. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to talk about the relationship between the director and the actor. And I wanted to pick up the conversation after casting. I want to assume that the movie has already been cast, and I want to talk about that creative partnership. So I put together a panel tonight, and I'll do a quick introduction of all of you, and we've got a few clips to show. And then we'll start the conversation about how it all comes together. So Billy, I'm going to start with you. Billy Coward of WCI Studios started acting in 1979 and has been continuously working ever since. He worked as a casting associate with several casting directors, as a film development associate, as a director, and as a producer. His resume includes over 60 plays and numerous TV credits, including iCarly, Criminal Minds, and Blackish. And he's also well known in the advertising community for more than 30 commercial campaigns, some of which are really, really funny. You have a knack for playing
I'm the before
character.
guy.
Billy's also worked as a supervising producer for Storytellers and for Six Reel Pictures, and he was a feature film writer for Emmett, Furla Films, and Ross Bell and Fogleaf Media. He's based in Los Angeles, and he offers classes in San Diego once a week.
Sundays.
On Sundays?
Yeah, it's my San Diego.
It's your day off.
San Diego's a day off from LA.
And Billy, you sent us a short clip. What are we going to see?
It's a demo reel. It's my comedy demo reel from, it hasn't been updated lately, within a year or two, so there's still some stuff missing, but gee, I hope it's funny.
Now, everyone, please complete exercises number 7 and 9.
What about number 8?
I'm in charge!
Have you found yourself yet? Because you're right here.
That's right, real onions in his onion stream.
I hit a 5-iron. The magazine said hit a 5-iron to get safely on the fairway.
Did it also tell you to wash behind your ears?
No.
To wait 2 hours after eating to swim?
Actually, that's a good idea.
To wear a helmet whenever you leave the house? Tell your mom I said hi.
Oh my. This is a very special piece, an original chicken sandwich, BLT. Notice the tomato, the bacon, the pepper flakes. This is signature Burger King craftsmanship.
What's it worth?
An actual original from 1979. You're looking at around $1,000. Oh, sorry. This one's still hot. It's probably purchased about 10 minutes ago. Sorry.
I still get the $1,000, right?
No.
900?
No.
850?
No.
Don't lowball me, beard man.
Did I faint?
Yes, are you all right?
It happens all the time. It's no big deal.
All right. Just gonna go back to my desk.
You're a pretty guy.
Thank you, Billy, for being here. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Next, we have Terry Ross, who is an award-winning film director, owner of the acting studio called Acting Professionally. She's also winner of the 2017 Women in Film Award by the San Diego Film Consortium. Terry has coached over hundreds of actors on stage and screen. She hosts an annual showcase for the film community, which is coming up, I think, next month.
Tuesday, March 13th.
Tuesday,
So,
March 13th.
If you're looking for actors to cast.
That's for the SDSU Film Department. Her
No,
first,
oh,
is that incorrect?
sorry?
Anyway,
I
let's
missed
move
something.
on. Terry's first feature film is called Carving a Life, and it's being distributed by Indie Rights. It was recently sold to China, and it's available on Amazon Prime. Carving a Life is also an official selection for the upcoming 2018 San Diego Film Week and the Idlewild International Film Festival. Terry holds an MA in Education from Stanford and an MFA in Directing from the University of California at Davis. And you have a couple of short clips from Carving a Life. I'm going to have you set those up for us.
Okay, I do. Carving a Life is about a young artist. He's a wood carving artist, and his life kind of takes a big dive into alcoholism after some things happen with his wife, who's played by Carenza. So these are a couple of clips at various stages of where Mitch is in that process of kind of the beginning of descent into the alcoholism. So here we go.
Here's to my best friend and his girl. You know, I've known Mitch since childhood, and we had some pretty rough times growing up. But I've never seen him more happy. So, may there only ups and downs in life be in between the sheets.
They are so cute, aren't they?
Man, I'm gonna miss hanging out with that guy.
You guys are best friends. We'll hang out.
Yeah, but Lauren doesn't like me.
I like you.
That being actually, obviously, one of his happier moments. We recognize the lovely Carenza as his wife, Lauren.
Then you have another short clip, and that is...
Yeah, so this is right after the wedding, and things are still good.
Impressive.
You think so? It's nowhere near done, though.
My talented husband.
Well, at least somebody thinks so. Seems like everybody had fun last night.
Yeah. I know, I certainly did.
And now it's my turn to be a teacher. So first, you're gonna hold the piece of wood, and then after a while, it'll tell you what it wants to be. You got it?
I think so.
Okay. So start with this door. Careful.
And this is then going into the withdrawal scene when things have gotten pretty bad. He's having nightmares. A lot of his drinking is because of some pretty tough past memories. So I think we have one more clip.
Very nice work. Thank you, Terry, for sharing that. Merrick MacArthur is a dramatic screen actor, but he also has comedy chops because he toured with an improv troupe called The Hinges. Merrick's acting career actually started as a child actor in Detroit theater, and he moved to California to complete a degree in engineering, and a chance meeting with a veteran actor inspired him to start taking acting classes. Who was that? Can you tell
I can't
us?
say.
You can't say. All right. Sworn
My
to
two
secrecy.
teachers here, so I can't.
Merrick was recently seen on the new Fox network police dramedy Lethal Weapon, also seen as the mayor on CBS's Scorpion, and as a scientist on the Seth MacFarlane comedy The Orville, which is on Fox. He starred in, locally, Merrick got his start with the Amalgamated Grommets, and he starred in a Grommets short film noir comedy called The Heiress Lethal, and this film was chosen to screen at the International Cannes Film Festival. Merrick recently moved from San Diego to Los Angeles. Congratulations on that. I think. We all have mixed feelings, right? But he's here tonight, so thank you. We have a short demo reel from you too. What are we going to see?
I sent you a few. Is this the?
This is the one from
demo?
IMDb.
Oh, this is an older reel that goes over some San Diego work and some of the first network television work that I've done. I've done a few more since, so I need Mike Rugemeyer to help me put together a new one. So.
friends have served us so well in the battlefield. Why not allow?
And that was it.
job,
So
good
yeah.
Pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure's all mine.
Thank you for coming in. Look forward to your support.
You'll be hearing from us.
Makes sense. Thank you for agreeing to help us. I just hope you're right. Otherwise, I'm going to look bad. And I'm sure you do, too.
Excuse me. But those who do evil force us to face our fears and overcome them. And we will overcome. What the hell's going on?
The bomber's here, we don't know where. Evacuate the area.
This is on you.
You're aware MS exacerbates the effect of alcohol.
Yes, I am aware that it can amplify the loss of balance.
And your prescribed medication specifically advises you
Not to drink. I know, doctor.
So who killed my father?
I don't know. But I think it may be the same people who control and manipulate global markets. Your father spent years learning how to play their game and expose them. It's been 3 months. Right? And what happened? What happened is about the worst thing that could happen to anyone. But you have to move on. You have to keep going.
So what are you gonna do? Huh? You think you're gonna take over this city in one night?
Mr. Martinez, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm taking over. The minute I decided it, this became my city!
Thank you, Merrick, for coming down to join us tonight. Our last panelist is Carenza Laguerre, and she's a trained actress and classically trained singer of stage and screen. One of her first highlighted screen credits was on the Warner Brothers series Veronica Mars. Since then, Carenza has worked on many independent films, including a lead role in Carving a Life, a locally made feature film. Most recently, she worked on a made-for-TV movie called Healing Hands, which will premiere on a to-be-announced cable channel later this year. Healing Hands, maybe we could guess.
If they don't change the title.
Carenza also spent some time on the high seas, singing high seas as a musical entertainer with the Holland America line. She holds a BA in music from UCLA, where she trained in operatic voice, and she splits her time between San Diego and Los Angeles. You sent 2 clips.
I did.
I thought we would show the one where you're a celebrity first.
Yay, me too. Okay, I really like it.
I don't want to give it away.
Oh, so don't say anything?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
You can set it up if you'd like.
Yes, I'm blonde again in this clip. I'm Marilyn Monroe, and I'm excited. I don't know, watch. I'll talk about it after.
Are you Marilyn Monroe?
You've heard of me?
What are you doing in San Diego?
Well, I shot Some Like It Hot at the Hotel del Coronado.
Why aren't you hunting that place then?
Don't be silly. All the best ghosts come to the Lafayette.
Anyway, you were fantastic in that film.
Oh, thanks. Gee, sweet of you to say. Sorry if I was a bit harsh before. You wouldn't believe the level of harassment I get in the netherworld.
I do know what it's like not to be taken seriously as an artist.
Yeah, they're so quick to dismiss our achievements, but they're jealous of our talents.
And our good looks, too.
You're funny, but don't push it.
So, I have a crush on this project. I don't know, it makes me smile. But I have to just, disclaimer, that is my real version, real R-E-E-L, of that clip. It is the other kind of R-E-A-L version is actually in color and longer, and I just want to give that disclaimer so that the filmmakers who made it aren't misrepresented, and can be seen at San Diego Filmmaker in its proper format. And this next clip is a selection of 3 very short excerpts from 3 different short films. Yes.
We can't do this anymore. We tried. We tried so hard.
So what's really going on here?
Nothing new.
Is he too good to you?
Yeah, that's just it, isn't it?
It's not him, it's me.
You said this was a sure thing. A solid guarantee. You just kept grinding it in, huh? You tricked me into this. I never wanted to be a part of it. You said that they couldn't trace it.
Great work. Thank you very much. Well, thank you all for sharing just a little tidbit of your talents. Let's pick up our conversation and start by talking about how an actor becomes a character. And I'm thinking that this is the kind of thing that there are thousands of hours of podcasts and courses and books that you could read. But I'm wondering what that process is like. Once the script comes around, how does an actor become a character? Who would like to take that?
Oh, a jump in kind of a thing.
I'm going to be a wild card on this one, so you guys probably had to go first.
Good, we like wild cards.
Okay, fine. I was really trying hard not to be the first one. How an actor prepares. Well, I like to hurry up and get the learning of my lines out of the way so that on set that's never an issue and I'm very much freed up. I think my answer to a lot of these questions are ultimately going to end up, it can depend on the script, the type of movie that's being filmed. I might have a different approach based on the script. For instance, right now, I've challenged myself to get back to Shakespeare, and that is an approach to acting that is much longer than what I'm used to. Goodness gracious. Anyone want to help me out here, and I'll jump back in when I have more ideas?
All right, here's my theory on this. Probably 1% of the time that you will spend as an actor working will be in a character. 99% of the time you're going to be playing yourself and you're going to be living in a world that is foreign to you. And so the most important thing is to not forget who you are and not to use anything that is character related as a barrier between you and dealing with what is actually happening in front of you. Howard Fine used to talk about that a lot, that character was the thing that most threw actors off because they would use it as an insulation so that they wouldn't have to actually feel anything. Directors out there, directors want their actors not to feel anything? Obviously not. So the times that most people play characters, usually when they're representing somebody who's actually a real person, like Marilyn Monroe, for example. The people that tend to play characters more are natural mimics, which you definitely are. I could tell that actors tend to be either really strong and cool, or they tend to be natural mimics. Like they'll do accents and impersonations and stuff like that. Those people tend to naturally slip into characters. But if you truly go to character, what you're actually doing is fragmenting your personality, which is like, okay.
This is the wild card part.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I could spend I could spend an hour on this part of it. Throughout our lives, we go through traumas and we fragment into different parts of ourselves. Like everybody have that part of themselves that gets really, really furious when the world doesn't cooperate. If I could take you through a process and trace it right back to when it happened to you. There was an event that overwhelms you psychologically, you split and you create this character, which is why sometimes they pop up on you in real life and you don't know why. You'll just suddenly be really angry, or suddenly you'll be acting very childlike. And there's some trigger that takes you back to that place. The trigger is similar to whatever the trauma was in real life. So when you really develop true character and go deep in on these things, my caution to you is understand, and directors understand this about your actors, is potentially they're fragmenting their personalities and they need to know they're doing that. Because you can end up going down a road like the Heath Ledger road where you're keeping yourself up at don't sleep for days on end because you went so deep on something and fragmented your personality so much that you don't understand what's happening to you. And so you have to reintegrate. A lot of actors that will go into this will stay in it for weeks. And so the secret for a director in that situation is just let it happen. Just let it do its thing. And it's unconscious, just like it is for us in real life. When you really find a character, the truth is that it finds you. it'll be at the moment that you least expect it. You'll be trying to figure it out and working your brain and doing all this, like, and the moment you give up, suddenly it'll find you. And it'll be this very spontaneous thing, and you will not have any doubt that that's what's happening to you. You've got to be able to reintegrate, though. And part of the reintegration process is you've got to accept that some part of that thing is also a part of you, and that it's okay, and that it can be allowed to exist within you, and it's not going to take over, be permanent.
So
Wild
that
card.
sounds like
No.
when we have a very serious role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if it's, I think what I'd say is the more distant it is from your everyday life.
Uh-huh.
So it may be a person that's really detached from any sense of reality and doesn't take anything seriously, but it's so far from your everyday existence. Like it's a very thin sliver of you.
So I had a conversation with the director in preparation for this, and he actually was talking about how some of the best actors are actually playing characters that are very similar to themselves.
Themselves. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like most of the time you don't. The way I like to put this is, when you get out of your kind of bad neighborhood, you walk a little differently. You talk a little differently, right? It's not a character. Well, every script is a neighborhood. And every script has context, and every script has consequence. Mm-hmm. And so what you do is, Daniel Day-Lewis, he doesn't really talk about character as much as he talks about the world. He says, I build a world and I live in it. And the reason he does that is because the way your brain works is if you're focused on yourself, you're missing what the story is about, like what's happening in front of you. So you can't focus on character. What you do is you build the world, you build the context that you're living in, and the consequence of what's happening around you, and then you have to accept that. And you have to accept the fact that it's happening to you. If you're sitting on an airplane, or your character's on an airplane and looks out the window and the engine falls off, and an actor's going, now how should I feel because the engine fell off? You're not going to feel anything. But if you guys right now, the engine just fell off the airplane, you're not going to see your family. You're not going to see your kids. You're not going to go home and see your dog, Teresa. You feel the difference in that? And when you accept that it's really happening to you, that's when it starts to find you. Because if you go into this as an actor and you think that you're going to be playing somebody else, they're going to cast somebody else. It's your body that's there. It's your awareness and it's your feelings. And when it happens to you, you're not going to feel like it's somebody else's feelings. You're going to be like, oh my God, I'm really feeling a lot. And the secret for actors is just go like, that's okay.
Terry, talk about building that world. You sent me some paperwork in preparation, and I read through that. Talk about that world, how you do that.
I mean, I agree with Billy that you can't play something that you haven't gone through in your life. There are ways that you have to go back and kind of find how you can connect to things the character is going through that maybe aren't exactly what you have gone through in your life, but there's a similarity. It's Stanislavski's magic as if, right? There's a kind of, what if this were me in that situation? How would I be responding in that situation? So the work I do in my classes is a little bit different than what we usually have time for on set, unfortunately. Particularly because before I did Carving a Life, I was doing short films and 48-hour films, and then, we're creating the character for about 7 hours, and then, going in and trying to make a movie. But in class, what I want to give to my students is a methodology for finding that person that they're playing, which is, of course, also them. So I have a very detailed questionnaire that I ask, because I really, in terms of building the world, I really want to think about what world did my character come from? Where did my character come from? How did they grow up? What are those memories? Occasionally I'll even do sense memory work as the characters to kind of build memory as character versus taking memory from self, if that makes sense. So we do that. I will sometimes, once I feel like people have integrated and figured out where we meet and where we differ. So where we differ is where that work and exploration and that kind of digging into myself and exploring the historical context or whatever that I'm in is the work. And I'm a real strong believer in knowing your historical context as an actor. To me, that's really important. Even if it's 1990 or 1995, that's not the world we live in today. So what were we thinking? What were we listening to? What were we reading? What was our, construct of how the world was in 1995 versus now? So that's important to me, I think, in playing character, in defining a role. I will sometimes have actors go out in the world as that person, because also a lot of how we perceive ourselves is how other people perceive us. So to go out into the world as this other person, how are you responding to people and how are they responding to you? There's a great story about De Niro, and this was pretty recent. He's got a hotel in Manhattan, and he was doing a role as a homeless person. So he camped himself in front of his hotel as a homeless person, and all his employees and stuff would walk by. They didn't know who he was, right? He wanted to immerse himself in what was it going to be like, to be on the street and have people walk by you and ignore you. And he went into the hotel, and his employees tried to kick him out, right? And this very much, gets inside you as what it's like to be in that world. So there's that. Sometimes I'll do a group therapy session so the characters can have talk back, so the actors get a sense of I'm really talking authentically as myself and responding to the other people, not just with the script. So yeah, those are some of the approaches I take.
I hope, Merrick, you can go ahead, but I just have to reserve a chance to say more than I learn my lines at some point. You go ahead. I just needed someone else to speak first, and now I'm like, oh, I know how to answer this question.
How do you build the world, Merrick, when you're, you know what I mean? How do you build that backstory? How do you build the world of the role that you're playing? What are you thinking about in preparation?
Well, it's a complicated question for me. I audition for various things, and I've worked in various types of roles. So I want to have, I don't think, very few times have I had the opportunity to do what these two great teachers are advising us to do, to be honest.
It's a task for this weekend.
Well, no, it's not that. The role, these large roles, these involved roles that I think would definitely benefit from that practice, I haven't done very much of. So I've been, television and independent film. So my days are filled with auditions of 2 to 3 lines and a description of that character that is 2 or 3 words. Buoyant might like the co-star. I mean, these are what I have to work with. So for me, this is way off from what our teachers are telling us. When I get auditions, usually it's for a television show, one that I may not have seen. So, of course, there are the lines that will be sent out to me. I will watch the show to figure out what the tone of that show is. And again, these are practical things. These aren't really part of the wonderful art form that you love as an actor, but these are practical things about, doing this character for this show. This is a job they want to hire me for. So I figure what the tone of that show is. I have the words, so I know, I have the certain things that I know are this type of show does with their characters. And then I will do the memorization. I will actually videotape myself doing this this audition and watch it back and look for certain technical things that I like or don't like, trying to get the casting and producer and director's perspective on how I come across doing this character. The audition that I do tends, for me, always is pretty much what the work is going to be. So if I have 3 lines in the audition, when I book the job, it's going to be those 3 lines in the job. So again, I don't have the, to prepare for the audition, don't do the wonderful things that you should do for getting in depth with the character. And I they might be mad at me.
Well,
for
no,
saying-
you're doing it with the 99%.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
right.
Most of the time, you're just
Yeah.
doing it. There's no.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, it's you want to be just aware of how the tone of this show is, what the information that you're given in your audition sides. Look through all of your audition sides. They'll have 2 pages, all of it's black, marked off, but they'll have like 2 sentences that are your lines. Look through all that other stuff so that you know what's going on in that scene up to and after your moment, so you really have a better context of where you stand in the show. Understand what it means to be a co-star on a show. Understand what it means to be a guest star in a show, because they have 2 different purposes for each episode. So these are practical things that I do that aren't as involved and as fun as the things that I learned from these 2 great people here.
Okay, can I redeem myself?
Yes.
All right. Okay,
Go
so,
ahead.
so 2 things. One, I'm sure we're going to get to later that this whole experience actually is a great example of. You asked the question. I ended up being the first person to answer. I am not a good test taker. I draw this connection to being on a set, though, because some directors, though, I think asking questions is great. When you're talking about the character work happened, like, what do you think of the backstory? I can talk a lot, sometimes too much, maybe. But there is an art in how that conversation unfolds. And if I feel like I'm being given a test and there's a right or wrong answer, because I know that that's the point of tonight, how to talk to the actor. I thought I would mention it while I thought of it. I'm going to shut down like I did today and be like, I learned my lines. and that's what's going to happen to maybe my acting. All of a sudden, I feel like there's a right or wrong answer because you, the director, have the golden ticket, and I'm fishing. Even though I'm ready and I've done my work, but there is that conversation sometimes can go awry. So I was reminded of that, thought I'd share. Back to the actual question, how we prepare. So I do stick to part of my original answer, which is for every project, it is absolutely different. But now I'm reminded of some great examples. So there are a lot of projects you pick up and I very much easily relate to. And when I say I learn my lines, that's kind of code for me. When I say I learn my lines quickly and get them out of the way, that's not just I learned my lines. That's I know my lines, so when I'm living my life, it's living in the background all the time. So my imagination can work, because imagination is huge, and I don't necessarily trust that I have the best imagination. I hear, Jennifer Lawrence could convince herself that the school bus was being, raided by abductors, and she would convince the entire school bus, I don't know if mine's that good, so I have to practice a lot more. So I learn my lines, I read the script, and so that way, when I'm away from it, because Lord knows I drive a lot, it's growing, and I'm where it is one day, and then you leave it and you forget about it, and you don't even look at it again. It pops up in your head the next day, and you realize, oh, I just discovered something, or I just asked a question that's going to lead to a whole new batch of information that is so excellent for my character, and that's where it's all. So when I say I learn my lines, that's what I mean.
But Peter O'Toole says that's what he does, and meaning I think the same thing that you did. It's not just learning the lines, but the text and the triggers and everything behind it.
Yes.
And so that,
and like
full.
Merrick says, we often don't get that opportunity depending on what the situation is. But if we do, I'm obsessed with living with stuff for a long time. So if I can then go away from it, because sometimes you're too close for too much time, you need to step away, and then when you revisit it, you find something that you just didn't see before, and all of that wonderful stuff. Another thing in terms of how I prepare is based on who I'm working with. I have had a lot of great experiences. On occasion, you'll meet just a character, and I myself don't know how. Like, lots of words come out of that person's mouth, but you don't know what to do with those words. And I've got T-minus however many weeks to perform this person's script. I don't understand a word of what they're saying, and so it terrifies me, but then I just work even harder. And my little secret is I have to be so good that when I do what I do, that person won't have anything to say. Like, I have to commit so hard to whatever I decided that they'll be like, that wasn't what I was thinking, but I love it. It's like, So those are a few things. I'm sure we'll get to more, but I learned my lines.
If I could just pick up on something that Karenza said in terms of, as an actor, not wanting to feel like you have a right or wrong answer to, a question the director might ask you, or I come at this, like Billy, I was an actor first for many, many years and worked with a variety of directors. And I was fortunate enough to work a little bit with William Ball, who was the artistic director at American Conservatory Theater. And he had this wonderful premise, which I have always used ever since once I started directing, which is if an actor approaches you, and this is on set if you're directing, if an actor approaches you with a question, they really already have the answer. They just want you to say, if they say, I want to try something, say yes. Make the time to say yes. Because an actor needs to trust their instincts and feel trusted by the director. And so his premise was, if an actor says to you, ask you a question 3 times, can I try this, should I try that? And in those 3 times you say yes, then they're relaxed, they're trusting their instincts, you're getting these wonderful performances where they're just feeling free to make the choice. And so that's, my sage advice if you're working with actors, say yes.
I was laughing because I remember a moment that my group writer had, and I had on a film we worked on together, where he said no.
I have to say something about that too. I'd understand a director saying no 15 years ago. I said, well, we don't have that much film.
Yeah.
But now you could practically turn the camera on when you walk in the morning and turn off at the end of the day. And so realistically from a director's perspective, what you're looking for is what are you going to be working with when you are in the editing room? And so what I tell actors is, look, you're not the editor, you're not the director, you're not the writer. Your job is to throw up. Their job is to clean up. And to add to what she's saying, let the actors throw up. And hey, 50% of it may be completely unuseful. 25% of that is going to be stuff that you never thought of that is going to be what you use. And the other 25% will be the stuff that you thought would be good when you originally thought of the scene, but now you realize isn't nearly as interesting as what the actor intuitively found. It's interesting because I look at, another thing you guys got to understand about actors is a lot of directors say, my job as a director is done when casting's done, because they find the actors that fit, and then it's like, how could I tell you what to do? You're the person now. You do what you feel is right. Like, when I look at these 2 guys over here, first thing that hits me is, Merrick is slow and steady, right?
Slow.
Not slow. He's like an Anthony Hopkins. So Anthony Hopkins is like a slow and steady. Most of the time he's there just talking, just saying words, not moving, not doing anything. You're a volcano.
I belong in a romantic comedy that I've yet to be in because I have that clumsy, frenetic energy when I'm nervous.
So when you cast these guys, where are you going to put them? Like Mayor, slow and steady. Gets a little riled, takes a lot to get him riled up or whatever. You watch her on screen, she's vivacious and this like a moving target. So you cast them right, and then you understand once you're on the set, like, okay, this is what I want. The only thing that I want to do is not put them in their heads. In your case, put you in your head. For Merrick, if there's a situation where I need him to feel something, just encourage him to make the stakes higher. Some people come to this with passion, some come with carelessness. The people who come with all the passion just need to know, like, it's okay. What's already going on with you is plenty. And the people that come in with all the carelessness, you go like, it's great, you're cool. You're not doing anything wrong. Just look at what's going on in front of you. Deal with that. Does that make sense? And this is all brain physiology. It's like right and left brain. And so what you got to understand is actors walk onto the set subconsciously ready to do the job. When they ask you that question, you're watching the scene play out. When you give them, actors, when you get direction from a director, they're communicating to you with their right brain before the words come out of their mouth. One great example, I was working on something down here, a director came up to me and said, can you play this like you're having, what do you say, a transcendental disenfranchisement?
Sorry.
Right. And I went, and you went, yes! So, well, now his instinct, his gut was, I want this guy to be like in this place. How do I describe it? Before, no matter what words he used, as he started to talk, I started going, and that's what actors are going to do. Like if you want to know what an actor wants to do for a scene, like if you see an actor that's stuck, and you want to see what they really want to do with the scene, watch what happens when you say cut. As soon as there's no pressure to do right and wrong anymore, you're going to see what their instinct is. Because instinct is not an idea, it's not a concept, it's not a picture, it's a feeling. All instincts are feelings. If it's anything other than a feeling, it is not an instinct. That's a mislabeling. You might have a great idea or a great choice, but it's not an instinct. An instinct is that feeling you get when you get into the elevator and there's a creepy guy like me in there, and you say, like, I want to get out of the elevator. That's an instinct. And all of the concepts of rudeness and I don't want to be, maybe he's fine, those are concepts and ideas. That's all left brain. But most people, like if you get into a set, like I totally, like when you said, oh my God, I feel like I'm taking a test, I was like, left brain. The right, wrong, good, bad, future, past, that's the enemy. Control is the enemy. The actors cannot be under control because then they're safe. Nothing more boring than a safe actor.
So how does a good director, what are the...
Exactly. How does a good director bring this out of an actor?
Well, I think first of all, your job is to establish the environment. You've got to be, and you've got to be, your job.
Talk about that. In what type of environment?
Well, like they were saying, first of all, safe.
Yep.
You got to create an environment where the actors feel like, now, I want to make sure this is very clear. When you get to like, okay, we're about to roll, you're not the actor's friend. There are situations where an actor, you'll see an actor like, boy, they've got all this anger and stuff inside, but they're putting it on the camera guy for putting the camera too close. They're putting it on me, or putting on, so what you got to do is just go like, I love it. I love that you're pissed off. That's awesome. But that's the actor over there. Go, let it out, right? So the environment may not be safe in terms of like everybody's happy and everybody's nice, but it has to be safe. Like whatever you're feeling is okay. I'm not taking it personally. And I hope that when you get something that you think is coming from me that may be agitating you or making you annoyed, it has nothing to do with us. It has to do with the work we're doing. And you'll see actors parallel when they're shooting. If an actor is like the outcast, you're going to see him. You're going to start feeling like an outcast. If you're somebody that's in charge, you're going to feel like, I know what the hell I'm doing. If you're, you know what I mean? Like it's weird how even walking into auditions, if you and casting directors do this and directors do this. Watching a casting director be really nice to all of the girls next door coming in and mean to all the hookers. And after a while, you start to see patterns. You're like, you're being mean to all the girls that are playing the hooker role. Like, no, I'm not. Like, oh my God. Like we're all subconscious beings, right? If any of you here is a conscious being walks through your day, very thoughtful, knowledgeable about what you're doing and why, you're probably a shrink. And the other thing I would say is, I would never make a movie about you. Right? We make movies about people and their subconscious and how they're living subconsciously and doing things they don't understand. When you go in and the cap's off the toothpaste and you get pissed off, it's not because the cap's off the toothpaste, because 10,000 other people would walk in and see that and not get mad. That is not a cause and effect. The cap off the toothpaste is a trigger for something subconscious. So, in life, we're not conscious of what that is. So you go do your bio, you explore the things that have happened to you in life, all the context and the consequence that led you up to this moment. When the camera rolls, you cannot think about any of that stuff. You have to let it go. Yeah. And if the reaction is exactly the opposite of what you thought, then you're probably right. As a director, you have to see that and be ready for that and go, why is that right? Every time, okay, now what's right about that? And just think, most of the stuff that I have shot that I really love, I've had 4 takes that I've done, and always remember to tell your actors, don't worry about the take. There's another one, right? We got one, now just go crazy, right? Open environment, right? But like the best stuff that I've done, it's because I did a pretty good performance and the editor was a genius. So I do a take where and they're like, go crazy. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, do a take now, just what else you want to do? It's like, nothing, just cool like this. And they do another one, crying, another one. And then what happens is they edit it together where it looks like the other actor says something and it makes me cry. And then they say something and then I'm screaming at them. And so that's what I mean. Throw up as the actor, clean up as the director and the editor. But if you don't have the throw up, you got nothing to work with. And an actor comes in only ready to do it one way, then you're only going to have one way that you could possibly edit it. And so constantly encourage your actors to explore the possibilities. People don't always cry at funerals. They don't always laugh at weddings. And so if you're shooting a wedding scene, like in that scene, like not everybody's happy, and so there are moments where people are just thoughtful and wistful, and like I'm losing my best friend, and it's not always, and that's life. That's what we shoot movies for. And an actor's job is not to be the smartest person in the room. It's to be the most courageous. We go to movies because, like, I don't want to go through what that guy went through. I want some actor that has the courage to go through it for me so I can sit in the theater and experience it without any of the consequence and eat popcorn and go home to a life that's relatively wonderful, right? And so consequently, the set isn't always a wonderful place, but it's still got to be a safe place. Somebody gets, like, the ideal as a director, you should be an absorber of bizarre ego. Because actors start to feel stuff, they don't know what it's for, just like in life. You don't know why that you're mad because of the tubes off the toothpaste, caps off the toothpaste. So as a director, you're like the psychologist. You go like, that's great. Wow, you're feeling a lot. And if they're not feeling anything, ask them, how you feeling? And no, not the character, not how you think you're supposed to feel. How do you actually feel? Because that's the root to the subconscious. And the subconscious mind was working during all of this bio process. And in addition to all that stuff, they have all of the subconscious that they've created over their lifetime. And all their triggers, which add richness to it. If you put, I don't know if you guys remember, there were a couple of different Truman shows that came out. I mean, there were a couple of different movies about Truman that came out in the same year. Remember that?
Oh, Truman Capote.
Right. And there were two different Truman Capotes. Both were really good.
Oh, yeah, they were really good.
And they were also both really different, and neither of them was really Truman Capote. And it's because of the richness of Philip Seymour Hoffman's life and all of his triggers and subconsciouses that he won't be able to stop when he goes to work as an actor. And also Bucky, what's his name, who did the other one, he's got his own things. And that's why you hire actors and why you want them to be subconscious people. And you want them to be incredibly courageous. And so safety is about making sure that they never lose their courage and feel like it's a test, right?
Perhaps I would also add to that because, and the thing is, and I'll just keep beating this, is every film is different and will call out different things, and every actor is different, has a different process. Production, how much money we have, all of these things influence the process, so we can speak on different levels. Like Merrick speaking about his experience on a TV set of a network show is entirely different about 90% of like the indies that we do here locally. So that we should probably explore all those different things. But one thing I'll speak to in terms of Billy, right? Mm-hmm. Billy was saying, because I know your question was about what can the director do on set? How do we address this? And I guess from listening to that, to marry the two of the actor process to then what the director can do, I would say be aware of creating the less obstacles for us to have to overcome to be okay. So what I mean by that is every actor on your set is going to be at a different level, especially locally, right? If we're doing our indies. You might have newbies and you might have veterans. Newbies, their ability to overcome what you throw at them in terms of the chaos going on, people having perhaps attitudes or yelling or language or just these things, gruffness.
General chaos.
Things that will affect the actor's atmosphere, their world that they're in, is going to be less. Someone very, very competent with as much experience as these guys have, probably the set can be on fire and they still can like go out there and do what they got to do and take it in and make it a joke or whatever it needs to be, and it'll be brilliant. but you're going to be experiencing all of those things. So for me, there are instances, I remember going to your audition for Carving a Life. I knew. I don't always feel this way. I was like, I know this girl. Like, and that's just from reading the script, not even me personally relating to her, finding a seed that we're talking about, and I let the seed grow for my preparation. There's that, and when I went into that audition, I'm sure it wasn't on set, but I wasn't going to be thrown. Like, the room could be on fire, and I still knew what to do. Other times, there's that other film I told you about where I was like, what is he talking about? And I read his script, and I'm like, what is this about? It's dramatic, I can tell, but he's not helping me with any clues. So that one, I actually did find a strength within myself, and I went in there, and again, I didn't get thrown, but I knew he was someone who could throw me. So for the weeks, I was not just preparing my character, I was preparing as an actor how to not be thrown by this person, which took up more of my time and energy to think through all of those what ifs, and because I maybe is not as veteran as the others. So yes, what I'm trying to say is for the director or anyone on set, I know we all have a lot to do, but for the actor to do what they need to do, maybe just create as few obstacles for that actor to have to jump through to be able to get back to themselves.
And if I could add on to what Corinne's is saying and what Billy's saying, in addition to creating an environment where the actor feels free and feels safe to explore a lot of things which may really be, uncomfortable, the other thing I would say is that the director should say as little as possible. That the direction that you give, first of all, is an adjectival. You're not saying, I need you angrier in this scene, because that is incredibly unhelpful direction, right? And particularly if you haven't studied acting, if you don't come from an actor's point of view, as a director, you might be saying this scene's not working. It's it needs to be bigger. It needs to be, and so you don't know how to communicate that, right? So adjectives don't work, because then what you get from your actor is the actor putting on that emotion, putting that emotion on top of themselves. They're not in that emotion. They're playing that emotion, right? So verbs, action, just a little bit of direction. Something as simple as, if can you get that person, see if you can get that person to laugh in this scene, or try to get that guy to kiss you. I mean, things that are action that can get somebody, trying to make something happen between the other person instead of, could you just be sexier in this scene? Oh, what is that? Right? But,
God, got so many things going in my mind.
Is it on?
No.
My mic's not
It's
on?
not on?
It's
Yeah,
on, it's
it
on.
sounds on.
It's just not on for me.
I guess I have a difficult question. I'm not exactly sure how to ask it. So let me talk through it. I played Orsino once, and it was this great. I had just so much fun with it, and the Malvolio was so over the top. He was so brilliant that I had to play more conservatively than I would have, because I had to be the foil. We couldn't all be over the top, or it just wouldn't be that funny, because he was so over the top. And he came to me after we had already done it a few times, and he said, "Why are you so?" And I'm like, "I don't want to be that way." I'm like, the only time I did it was like when I got mad at the pirate, and I threatened to kill the pirate, So if you're coming in as a director and going, is there ever a time where you go, okay, wait, Malvolio, you went too far, and we need to let Orsino be a little bit more, when you're saying just let him go, I mean, maybe there's something the director really wants and the actors aren't giving it to.
oh, well, definitely, if the scene seemed unbalanced, right? If one actor is, overshadowing what should be happening in the scene, right? We will give some direction, in terms of, I'm not going to say, calm yourself down there, Malvolio, right? But I would give him, some direction to, listen more in the scene, or I try to give him, I haven't done that. I've never directed this play. I know it, but give him something else to focus on you know, because again, I didn't see the production, so I don't know if he's just
I thought it was
overacting or.
no. I thought everyone thought it was fantastic,
Uh-huh.
but he was just curious why I wasn't, you know, if love were, you know, my first lines and stuff like that. I just played it so conservatively.
I think what you did is exactly right. First of all, when an actor's like nuts like that, for me, I do this.
Poison dart.
Because like if they're really like that and it's too big, then that's probably something that was missed in casting. But if somebody
he was amazing. He was great, but he was
okay. Here's why what you did is right. The audience is seeing the same thing you are. If you aren't dealing honestly with what's going on in front of you, like this guy is mesmerizing and I'm just aware of what it is and it takes me to this place. If you do anything else other than that, they're not going to trust you because their reaction is going to be the same as yours if you're being honest. So that's exactly the right thing to do. And like if you both are trying to out cornhole each other, that's a phrase I like to use, but when somebody gets way too big, that's my loving, affectionate term for them, because in the audition world, whenever you get put into a group, there's always one that think it's just like, if I can just be bigger than everybody else.
Right.
Now, in your case, if somebody's
he wasn't overacting.
Okay.
He was just doing a fantastic job, but just the way he took it, it was so big and so like great, where
Yeah.
he was really so self-involved, which is really what Malvolio is all about. That I couldn't be quite as, you know, self-indulgent as I would have been maybe as an Orsino.
That's called following your instincts. Good.
Yeah. Well, because I don't feel like you can walk, I mean, and I hope everyone agrees with this, but I could be wrong. But I don't think you can walk into a stage and have 6 other actors that are prepared and then say, oh no, I'm going to act like this. And you can't all be acting the way you thought it out. You've got to start, once you bring your personality in there, then you got to figure it out.
Yeah, there isn't anything that anybody else is doing that should not affect you.
Right.
If you're aware of it, unless there's the, you know, in sitcoms they have that plausible deniability, like somebody's right next to you and saying something, but you're not supposed to hear it, you know. But generally, if you're supposed to be aware of everything is going around you, and you are aware of it, and it takes you somewhere honestly, then it can't be the wrong thing. I mean, you may be the wrong person for the role, but watching you, it's like, I mean, if you put Owen Wilson up there in the same role, he might do it differently than if you put Brad Pitt. But the truth is, like, they're each going to honestly react to it differently. And you have to be honest as an actor to how you're doing that. Because no actor goes out there and turns into what everybody else wants. Owen Wilson's always Owen Wilson, and Brad Pitt's always Brad Pitt. That's the reason we like them. And what you work honestly, you create a brand for yourself. Does that make sense?
But then when you pull back from the director's hat, which is what I wear more, what if your actors aren't giving you what you want?
Well, again, this is where, generally speaking, this is where we talk about the left brain, right brain thing. Okay, so there may be something that you're looking for. There's one of 2 reasons for that. One is they don't understand what the stakes are, and the other one is that they're stuck in their head. Now, I will say this. The worst kind of bad directing is what I call the intellectual puppeteer. And that's where a director comes in and says, I know how I want to do this. You're all just talking props. Do it like I would do it. And because then what you inevitably end up with is all the actors are the same person. They're the director. You know. Okay. So casting is the most critical element for that. Because you've got to go in and find, you're looking for ingredients. You can't take somebody who's vanilla and turn them into cayenne pepper. I mean, and if you push too hard to do that, what you're going to end up with is something that's kind of like cayenne pepper. This yucky nook that you're going to put into your stew, right? So casting is critical when it comes to that. You look for the essences, those ingredients that you're going to put into place. Like I said, like with these guys, there's a first impression, there's an essence you get from them. Somebody really explosive and outlandish and unpredictable, wacky best friend kind of. You're not going to make them the stern principal. And I don't, Merrick running down the street in his underwear, screaming, like a banshee. I'm not sure. I'd like to see that, but I don't know if that's necessarily the right casting, right? Like he would be the principal, And this is the thing for actors, is a lot of actors come into this, and you initially start out as an actor going like, I don't want to be stereotyped. That's literally saying, I don't want to work. As a director, you have to stereotype. You have to look at people. And a lot of actors don't know what their place is. They don't know who they are or where they're supposed to go. But, you don't want an actor that can do everything. You know, just like when you go to the doctor, you got an earache, you don't want to go to a general practitioner, you want an ENT. Like, I want to get those ears, right? So if you want, that's what you do in casting. You find people who are very specific in how they do things. So that solves most of that problem. And then it's just a matter of, are they in their head? Now there's a trick to that, because in your head is intellectualizing, right? It's left brain. So they're either thinking about something in the future, thinking about something in the past. They're playing it safe. They've got ideas, they've got concepts, they've got whatever. They're centrating, right? Awareness of the self. The opposite of centration is concentration. So the way you get a person out of their head is you get them involved in anything that is not centration. I can go, let's see, look at the stand, right? So I want to do a little experiment. Everybody watch him. Just for a second. I know you're going to get a little Heisenberg. Get a little. So describe that to me. Just describe what it is.
It's just two stainless steel posts that are about 3 inches thick.
Okay, now I'm going to get him out of his head. Is it a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
What is his name? Look at him.
John.
What's he feeling right now?
He's feeling a little dejected because everyone's looking at me.
Did you hear his voice? Did you see how he started feeling stuff? You felt that, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
He just got started to turn red. His eyes started to water. His voice started to become affected. That's a sign that he's in his right brain. That's the creative side of the brain. It communicates through emotion. So you instantly get emotional. If an actor is not effectively doing something, usually it's because they're not immersed in something that's going on in front of them. They're worried about what they're doing. And whether it's right or wrong or good or bad or future, past, and all that other junk. You know, the risk is I'm going to look at what's going on in front of me, and whatever happens is going to happen, and I'm just going to, we'll see. Make sense?
That's great.
So
Thank you.
When you shoot a scene,
Let's use the mic.
when you shoot a scene, describe how you'd like to go through. You know, what would be the optimum? You want to rehearse the scene? I mean, box the, when the shots are being boxed
Can you
out.
hold it a little closer?
Describe the process that makes you safe.
There, go, yes, Merrick, go.
Go.
If you're talking about going through a scene that you're trying to shoot and what you should do for the actor, I guess?
The actors, you're on a set and
okay.
everybody's
well,
but you haven't,
my experience is that, my experience is that the director and the DP want to figure out the shot, the angles of what they want to do. So they'll say, okay, let's just do rehearsal, and they give you a general area to be placed, and just kind of let us go, and we'll go through the scene. We'll act it out. And just watching us, they can say, okay, yeah, and they'll kind of walk around us as we're doing it, and then it's okay. I want to be on this side. We're going to do a dollar shot here, and then they start to place or block us a lot more specifically after doing that, and then they'll have us rehearse it again and say, yeah, I like this, or they might change another thing. After that, but again, the acting is you're artful, but you also have to be aware of the technical issues with what you're working on. If it's on camera, so you want to just make sure that the actors are aware of what you're doing, and still let them go and do whatever they do. Yeah, I think you're right. You're not trying to get them ever specific ways to say things, unless it's somehow critical to the overall story that you're trying to tell. But usually it's always just something technical, like I need your eyeline to be this side of the camera lens for this, and your actor should be good at, you should know how to still do and be natural and be themselves in this character, and watch that left side of the camera for
I think also, if I can just add to that, again, I'm just going to keep beating this, it has to deal with what production we're on, because again,
it's different
big
every time.
network TV show, ain't nobody going to talk to you. Or, the TV movie I just did, they're running around, they know what they do, they know what they're doing. They look like chickens with their head cut off, but they know what they're doing. Nobody's talking to me. I knew what I was doing at the audition where I had my own materials. Now I'm on a set. No one's told me. I'm waiting if I'm going to get told, am I allowed to touch all the stuff on my office desk that I've been given? because is the continuity person going to yell at me as soon as I touch this? And then is someone keeping track of that? And like, I don't have answers to these questions, but I have to read the situation. And in that situation, I was like, I'm just going to be quiet and hope for the best. And I dialed it a little bit back. My character's a very frantic character doing a million things, so I kind of just picked, I'm going to do that, that, and that, and I'll stick to that. But it was a little less than what I had done in my callback. I really felt better in the callback because I had my own papers and no one cared. So sometimes I would wish for maybe a little more, someone checking in with me, giving me a little like, so this is what we're doing. Sometimes you don't get that. On the flip side, more locally, I know we have great filmmakers here. Hey, you got money. Most of the stuff around doesn't. So on those sets, if you're newer, take more time. Make sure we're all on the same page so that you can save time with the mistakes not happening. So you just gauge that, dial that, depending on what production you're on. And then it might be okay to have a conversation about, we will be moving the camera and we will be getting coverage on this other thing, so that, or the framing, just so that way I know the frame world I'm in, so I don't go off and do this other thing, or vice versa. I kept it small because I thought we were only doing that thing, and then I find out we're like doing this whole other shot. I'm like, oh, I had more freedom. Oh, I didn't know that.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
What was the scene about?
The one the TV
You
movie
were
one?
describing with the desk and the.
Yeah, a frenzied office worker who's like on a computer and doing papers and filing and.
I want to make a quick point, because it's interesting. You went on the set, and the way you were treated was, I don't have any information, and you started to have all these questions, and you started to get nervous, and what was described is a frantic office worker. So like literally, you see her subconscious was putting her in the place that she wanted to be, and likely they weren't talking to her, not because they were consciously trying to do this, but on a subconscious level, it's very likely the director was like, I can see what's going on right now, that's what I want.
Oh,
so,
no.
Because most of the time.
No, he actually, my natural nerves came out too much, and then he thought it was the acting. And so then I had to be like, right, actor brain. And then I just clicked right in, because the lack of information I had been given it affected me.
But it gave you a frenetic
But it was
energy.
too much, because as an actor, I already had the frenetic.
Yeah, but but I mean, it's just like, it's easy to bring it down.
Yeah, and I did.
It's a lot harder to find it if it's not there. So like, but there's always a parallel between what's happening in your understanding of the set and what ends up happening in the scene. And the more you're attuned to that, and the more the directors are attuned to that, the more everything just seems like it's inevitable.
From a practical point of view, Merrick, you were on the set. You school board in Scorpion, you played the disciplinary guy in Lethal Weapon. How much direction did you get compared to the principal actors who were actually the stars of the show? How much attention did they pay to you, not just in blocking, but in what your performance was? And for the directors, how much attention do you pay to, the secondary players in the scene?
My experience with network shows is that everyone, even from the co-star level up, there's someone, even if you're background, they have someone there that's there to help you to be where you need to be and do what you need to do. So as a co-star or guest star, I'm greeted. They take me right away to where I'm supposed to get into wardrobe, hair, makeup. I'm escorted to set. All this stuff is happening for me when I get there. So even if it's a couple lines, they do all this stuff for me, which is awesome. It's like, all right. But yeah, the director, I found for me, I haven't gotten a lot of direction. Again, it's mainly been technical. It's like, hey, this is good. Now we just need to do this, so we need you to have your eye line here, or can we turn your body this way? Because they're just trying to get a certain shot. My performance, they saw in my audition tape. They know why they know what I am. They know why they brought me in. They know what I'm going to do. They just need to position their cameras the right way to capture that. So I didn't get a whole lot. I mean, the series regulars, they'll go through with them a few times. And series regular, I haven't experienced yet personally. So, not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
But I imagine it is, after a while, first you're excited because you've got this great job. It's steady work. It's week to week, 13 weeks, all this money. But then I hear the third show in, it's like a job. And I've seen the series regulars, and they're unprepared, they don't know their lines, they're like lying, they're just like, they seem like they could care less, but something happens to them as actors when they're doing this steady work, and
It's the carelessness.
I don't know, and I'm like prepared, I'm on, I know everything when I get in there, I know what I'm supposed to say, who I'm talking to, why I'm there, what I'm doing in this scene, and these guys are like, what's my line, I'm like, wow, you're getting paid all that money?
Eating a
And
salad.
Yeah,
during
they're,
rehearsal.
oh yeah, oh my God.
Oh, I'm going wherever they go.
So the directors, it's funny, your main actors you might tend to have to spend more time with if they've just gotten this jaundice or whatever it might be about their job. But the eager actors like myself are going to be on it. You really shouldn't. After the audition and casting process, these guys should, you shouldn't have to tell them very much as far as what to do.
Big difference between TV and film, though, in general, for those kind of machines that TV are, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're walking into a machine versus.
Yeah, it is a machine. That's true.
It's true, but generally what I found is my first experience on a film set was Doc Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And my first day, I walk in, it's Michael J. Fox, and there's...
and he's already Michael J. Fox at this
point. And
yeah.
He did the same thing. He was like, what scene are we doing? Same with a script. And then all some of the character actors from New York Theater, they knew their lines, but they were all just like, I don't give a shit. I tell actors, if you want to go into an audition room and have them think, this person should be a series regular, don't give a shit.
All right.
They don't. Like a certain point, like, I don't care.
Yeah. I don't know why yet. In the professional network world anyway, the casting process is done by casting directors and their assistants. And they tape you, and they send their tapes, their choices to the director-producer, and they pick from those tapes. So when I've done local things, and some of you have cast me in things, you're in the casting with me. You're like, okay, Merrick, let's try it this way. Can you try this? You want to know what I can do. You want to move it around a little bit and see what you can bring or what you can expect from this character. Network TV, they don't do that. I don't know why. Do you know why that is? They don't.
They don't have time.
They don't have time? Okay.
And the truth is, the smaller roles is mostly marketing, like the right essence, your right look.
Right.
We're plugging you in to solve a problem.
Yeah.
With guest stars sometimes in the room.
Yeah.
Sometimes with the guest starring roles, there are certain casting directors now that will give you a lavalier mic, so that you don't have to worry about not being loud enough. I mean, it's technology is making the whole process just weirder, and a lot of now people are casting stuff. They're shooting in all sorts of places. So half the stuff you're putting on tape for yourself, you have no idea what they're doing and looking at, so it is getting weirder on the actor end, that's for sure.
But I agree with Billy that as the director, to bring things out that you want, you really want to fish that out in your casting process. When you're bringing people in, when you have them go through a scene. Of course, as a director, when the audition, the scene should be something that really does have a key essence that you need for this character, so they can show you that they can do that part. If it's a big role, you at least have this important chunk that they need to show you they can do.
In the casting.
Yeah, in the casting. In the casting. I've seen it in other independent projects where I'm working and there's another actor there, and they flip out. Like, it's embarrassing. They flip out, and the crew's aware. They're like, what? And the director's like, oh my God. So they, whatever happened in casting, this is what made it to their set. Now they've got to deal with this, and I felt really bad for this crew, not just the director, but the crew has to put up with that in an actor. So you really want to fish these kinds of things out in your casting session.
If you get into that situation, you really only have two options: fire them and try to start over, or you're making a different movie.
Yeah,
because you can't force an actor to do something.
Yeah, if you're not getting in the people in your audition that you need for this character, I don't know how you go through the process of deciding, okay, I can put up with this, but I still want to make, or do you not? So, I'll wait to make the movie or the project until I get the right people, because I wouldn't want anyone to have someone's going to disrupt your flow of your production that's unprofessional, or whatever reason, you're desperate, you say, I just need a guy that's going to come in and do a few lines, and you think that's it, and they can get out 2 syllables. And now you're like spending, I've done a scene where the other actor could not get the lines out, and they basically just turned the camera on me, had me do lines. Okay, Mark, you can go. We're gonna spend the next 5 hours getting 4 words out of this one actor.
Was it an old TV star or movie star?
I don't want to say that.
You know what? No, because I hear this story a lot. Because what they'll do is they will get offer only, to somebody who was just famous in the 1980s for an episode of, Law and Order or something. They get them on the set and they don't realize they've been on, Percocet and Vicodin for the last 5 years, and they can't. And literally, I've had several actors tell me that I'm on the set and they can't say a word. They can't remember their lines. They just talk to themselves and they'll yell cut. and they'll just and actors have been like, yeah. And so I left, and then they called me a couple days later. Okay, come back. And there's an actor there that's completely different. And they just blew, $30,000 because they weren't auditioning to see if the person could actually pull it off. Auditioning is important. That's.
I want to just.
It's a collaborative thing, right? You're getting business partners, right? And everybody in the end thinks their business partner that you're doing more work than your business partner. There's always that weird tension, but you pick your business partners very carefully. If you don't, you end up in that situation where you're like, God, who do I have to have sex with to get off this project?
Since we're talking about casting, I just want to add something about not being too married to the look you think that you want. We've been talking about, character essence, right? That when you're directing and there's an essence that you need to have happen, and it happened with Carenza because the producer was really married to the idea of having that kind of California blonde look. And we auditioned a lot of actors who had that look. And
I was a redhead at the time.
And yeah, she
when
was
I
even darker redhead,
Dark red.
actually. And I auditioned sort of every blonde actress, I think, in San Diego. And no, I didn't really, but the agents were sending a lot of their best, and the actors were great. It just they didn't have her essence. They just weren't Lauren. And Carenza came to me through another former student of mine, and she didn't look anything like Lauren in the picture, and she came in and she just blew me away in the audition. She was fantastic. She had everything and more, really. There was so much depth to what she brought to that character. And I had to fight my producer a little bit because they really wanted that particular look, but I did, and asked Carenza if she would be willing to dye her hair, and bless her heart, for I don't know how many years. She dyed her hair because it took us 3.5 years to finish the film.
There is one scene where I'm wearing a wig.
Actually, my hairpiece. I have a blonde hairpiece that she's wearing in the film.
You can't tell
because her hair is back to red. But I just say that in that, if you really know that essence that you're looking for in the character, don't be so married to the image. And I know image is a lot in this business. Just think of Robert Redford in The Graduate. That's who they wanted to cast. And look what you got with, Dustin Hoffman.
I was just.
Could they be any more different, right? When he came in and brought something, blew Mike Nichols away, and there you go.
Two quick things. I've been watching a lot of the Masterclass series that's online, and one of the ones, I've watched all of them practically, but I watched the Shonda Rhimes one, and what I love, I don't even watch her shows, but she's great. She's very inspirational. But in terms of her writing, she says she never describes what a character looks like, ever. And I just, the way she talks about it, I love as an actor, because she does it in a way that so honors the actor. She's upfront about that. She said, there's 1 or 2 characters in the Grey's Anatomy pilot that she described physically how they were. Like Dr. Bailey was supposed to be a little short blonde with curly hair, and that didn't happen. It's because people come in the room and they tell you what it's supposed to look like. Unless your story has a reason for that in contrast to other characters, then, be open to things. Same like Terry's saying, being open on the set. I have a feeling that we're starting to wrap up, so I'm going to try and shove in something else.
Over to us.
Very intuitive of you.
Any last comments?
Yeah, I'm just going to keep rambling. One more thing. Because I know that the title of tonight was directing the actor, so I just want to keep kind of addressing those specific points, because we can talk about acting till the cows come home. But things that work for me, at least, that I can share, that I would love to hear from a director, is when they give me permission to do something. If you're, like someone was asking, if you feel like you're not getting what you want from your actor, they might just be a little, like we said, the reasons for it, maybe they're not sure if that's what you want, or they're feeling tested, or whatever their feelings might be. If you just throw out words like, and you've got permission to do, and fill in the blank. So that way it's not you telling to do one of those, what's it called, when you're giving an end result direction.
Yeah, result direction.
You can kind of throw it away, give them the ballpark, but not have them have to be married to that thing. That's a really great way to kind of just get them going. You know, you have permission to do this, and fall on your face. You have permission to do that too.
Also, I do want to add one more thing too. As a director, when you're giving a director an actor direction, say that backwards. As you're giving them direction, remember, you're taking some essence, some feeling that you got, and you're taking about 50,000 dimensions out of it and distilling it down to words which are two-dimensional, and you're sending it over to them, and they're trying to take that two-dimensional thing and fill it back out. As you're giving them the direction, watch them. You'll start to see them change. You'll see, as they start to absorb this, because they're getting you right brain from you directly without this whole thing. You might see the thing that you're looking for as you're describing it. As soon as you see it, stop talking and just say, that's it. Do you see what you're feeling right now? I think this is it. I think you found it. Because once they know what the feeling is, they'll go, oh, okay. Because all the intellectualization of words and like, she's kind of, I never heard a director give direction that wasn't contradictory. She's a serial killer, but in the next girl next door kind of a way. You know, like it never makes sense. But in the middle of that process, you'll see something happen to the actor when you're describing it. And in the moment you see it, you've got to stop and go, that's it. I think you know what it is. You feel that? Try that.
I have a really good question, I think. What is, for each of you, the one piece of direction that you were like, thank God he told me that, or said that, or did this? Not necessarily that a director, when you're in a place doing something, that helped you. Or did you never get something like that?
Directors are pretty useless. No, I'm just kidding. I'm trying to remember.
Don't they just point?
Yeah, stand over there. See that bright mark?
I see your brain working.
That's a toughie.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that'd be really easy.
They're kind of useless.
When you're ready, which happens a lot in auditions, when you said action before, I was like, actually, I just wish we all switched over to when you're ready rather than action.
Or cut.
And again,
instead of action.
Someone giving me permission, and creating the space where I just, can do my thing. I mean, it's different on every single set, so it's hard to. Usually, directions in relation to the character in the story, so I don't know how we can give a really good specific example.
My answer would be was completely contrary. The director was doing a play, and the director kept saying, she's meaner than that. She's meaner than that. Be meaner than that. And I didn't follow his direction. And I held on to what I felt was going on with the character. And on the other side, once we'd open and run for a little bit, he came up and said, you were right. So it was like satisfying. But it was just sort of holding on to, just holding on to.
I have the mic and I'd like to use it.
Do it. Wear that thing out.
So this is kind of when a director doesn't give you, they're busy. They're really busy, especially on a smaller indie film. And I have a very loud and horrible inner critic. And she gets in my way, and then I don't trust myself, and we're spending all this time kind of on our own. And I know the lines, but then I get out there and I start doubting every second, and what can we do to get ourselves back on track when we're just self-centration, you said?
Centrating.
Yes, where we're just stuck and self-conscious. And
if the problem is you're centrating, concentrate.
On what?
Whatever. Here's the thing. There's a guy named Charles Conrad. It was one of Meisner's main proteges that he sent him out to LA to work with film actors. And he said, it has to be a choiceless awareness. Something is going to grab your attention. It may be a spot on the wall. It may be a stand like that. It may be the fact that the actor's makeup is smudged, or they've got an eyelash or a piece of hair that's out of place. If that draws your attention, make that your world. And if that little voice doesn't shut up, you just go, you want to do it? Because you're going to screw it up.
I can tell you what I do. I actually hate public speaking. I'm an actor and a teacher, but I hate it.
This is family.
And so this may relate. So what keeps the focus off myself when I'm in a situation like this is the need to really communicate. So I'm really thinking about trying to get, for you to understand what I'm saying. And then if I'm on set or, if I'm acting, it becomes kind of the same thing. If my focus is just like, I really need to get this person to, my focus just goes on them. And then it comes away from whatever self-conscious or critic or all that stuff that starts interfering. I just, really what Billy's saying, I just, you take the focus off yourself and put it, on the other person. I become watching, like, what does that expression mean? Like, what are they doing? So it becomes about them and me trying to, respond to that when I'm getting from them, if that helps.
But also, too, the feeling that you get from that, like this little voice attacking you, like, I'm insecure. You go, like, how does that make me feel? It'll put you back into your right brain. If you go, like, it makes me feel, like, sad. It'll put you back in your right brain, whose natural impulse is going to be to shift back outward anyway. So physiologically, all of it is about getting into that place where it's feeling right here, right now. So right here, right now, how is this idiot that keeps trying to grab the steering wheel, big sister, how is she making me feel? Once you tap into the feeling, her power goes away.
Well, we need to wrap it up. I think Studio West may turn the lights off on us
Okay.
if we don't.
Probably.
So I want to thank you all, Billy, Terry, Merrick, Lorenza, for being here tonight, and to all of you for being here tonight. Thank you very much. And now back to Tom.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. So we want to have a little bit of time to network a little bit. We do have some raffle prizes. So you guys want to are you okay? You want to?
Or do you want to relax?
I've got to